was actually runoff. And there was nothing else established in the area other than native species. So we've just completed our third Coastal Prairie Charrette meeting. It's Graham here, Preston in the back, Mike on film, and yeah, we're headed out to the Prairie. So all day we've been talking to the community about what kind of restoration work and education they would like to see around the Coastal Prairie, particularly on the U.S. Forest Service lands in the Cascade Head Scenic Research Area, which we are driving right on through. So, just give a little background to this day and, all the days that have happened. Really what we're trying to do is get everybody on board with what the future of these ecosystems are going to look like, because it's not really been widely shared or understood that these coastal prairie ecosystems have changed a lot in my lifetime, Preston's lifetime, and really we're at a crux now with one species, the Oregon silver-spot butterfly, about to go extinct if something isn't done to enhance these ecosystems. Because, like many open spaces, cattle and the cowspiracy was a big use of these lands because they were open, they were grassy. And, now we're trying to think about putting in some energy to restore them to their native state, because, we've really put a lot of energy into converting them to cattle land, so it's probably going to take at least that much to change them back into the environments that the butterfly and other species like. So, what we're doing today is based off of the Salmon River charrette process, which was to actually talk about restoring things like this. This is the Salmon Creek channel, and this actually used to flow under Highway 101, but now runs in a ditch all the way out. So we're really trying to use what happened to restore the Salmon River estuary, because they basically had a bunch of graduate students go through and talk about how important it was to do things like drop the dikes on the estuary for juvenile salmon to be able to rear in this environment. So what we're doing today is trying to engage in a similar process, so that by the time groundwork starts on these sites, people are comfortable with that and know what's happening and feel engaged and involved. Preston, what do you feel about this?
So, as my experience working out here, you get to see a lot of the history and lot of the science and chemistry of the natural world, and from what we've seen is the way human interaction and the things humans have brought to our coastal prairies have really changed the environment to a point where it's hard for our native species to thrive. And it's our goal as a group, and we're trying to get the community involved and to help restoring these sites and these coastal prairies so that we can reclaim and help these native species come back to their original status.
Yeah, and when we talk about the coastal prairie, we're not just talking about Cascade Head, because everyone knows that as coastal prairie, but we're also talking about areas that, like these blackberry fields off on our right. These were probably areas that were prairie as well, but maybe were not mowed because the people wanted to keep the elk hunters out, or, a variety of reasons. So, what I'm getting at is that these ecosystems are really rare. There's not a lot of them left because Lincoln City, for example, is built on coastal prairie. So back in the day, when people were first settling this area, they saw that flat, open grassland, and they said, hey, what a better place than here to put, no better place than here to put a house down. So, that's really what we're up against, is not only that livestock and non-native invasive species have changed the landscape, but also humans, just by building up on it, we've lost some of the habitat. So, which, all these things that we're talking about are really just our changing values over time. We're really getting at what do we value right now? We value diversity. We value functioning ecosystems. And, no better place to express that than the Cascade Head Scenic Research Area. So, this is a unique opportunity, not only for my interns, but for me to be able to be involved in this journey with, so many folks who care. And that's really, I think, the greatest part about this whole thing, is that we're really on a journey towards fostering a deeper appreciation and thus care for these places. And if we can do that, then by the time Preston has kids, we'll have a functioning ecosystem. So, but we're heading over here. This is the Crowley Prairie, and you can see it's pretty cool area surrounded by Crowley Creek here, which has been recently restored, and also the Salmon River Estuary as we pull into Knight Park here. So, I just really want to thank everybody who's been able to be involved in this process, and really want to make sure that folks know how valuable they are, because I think whether it's giving your input on an ecosystem, or whether it's filming those ecosystems, it's all very important.
I'm Marjorie. We are interns for the Salmon Creek Watershed Council. And yeah, it's been really, really fun. We've been here for like 6 months. Yeah, we've been working on
I think it's
restoration, vegetation, all the really cool stuff.
give me a sample, give me something that allows me to make an assumption based on what's happening in here, what's happening in the prairie.
Let's go back to interstitial spacing now real quick. So the easiest answer that I have for interstitial spacing is, I almost think of it as like interdigital spacing. So if you have interstitial spacing, you have space between the components. And so right now, if you look out here, you can kind of see that there's no spacing between the individual plants. There's no bare ground. And so why that becomes important is because when you have really thin or rocky soils and the areas where the butterfly and the violets really thrive, we have a lot of interstitial spacing. And so we're not exactly sure how butterflies recognize their habitat, but they don't just recognize the violet. They recognize the structure, and they recognize heat signatures and all kinds of different things that we're not really able to pick up on. And one of the things we have noticed is that where they really like to lay their eggs, there is a lot of interstitial spacing. And that's one thing when you get these dense mats that you really lose very quickly. So we're kind of using interstitial spacing as one component of, are we getting the structure right? And it's not just about having the right plants out here, it's about having the plants in the correct structure as well. So that's why we talk so much about interstitial spacing. Does that make sense?
Things that we were able to see, this summer, and trying to, deliver some of that data that shows, hey, what you see here is, primarily invasives. However, it's important to note that what is here, and know that, if there is some sort of landscape change that's going to happen, are you extirpating something that was here to begin with? What's that look like? So that, we can just make informed hypotheses.
Real helpful.
So let's show them how to do some interstitial spacing.
So this is
consistently their vertical growth, they're really going horizontal, and so we've really lost any kind of gapping horizontally as well as vertically, and so that's one of the things that we're trying to pay attention to here.
So to do this, my assistant Ayala here, my lovely friend, what is the highest plant you see that blocks your view of the pole in any way?
And how low am I
How
supposed to
high
get?
is it?
Where does it cross the?
It crosses. Oh, it's weird because the wind's moving all of the taller grasses.
That tells us the species that are causing the ground layer, the species that are the tallest, and then we can tell if those are invasive and non-native or otherwise. And like we've said, most of the plants here at Crowley Creek are non-native. About, what do we say, 80 to 90?
96% is what the numbers came out to be.
Can you
So, but when we were driving, we did.
Real quick, as a side, I just wanted to point out over here is a little art piece I started work on, and now the beaver have totally cut all the willow out of. Used to be a little sculpture there to try and protect the fish before they shoot upstream from predators.